أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan, everybody. Come on in, take a seat. Inshallah, we're going to get started with our program today about college preparedness, gaining admissions, scholarships, and tackling student debt. All of us here know that we want to become the nation of Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. We want to become the nation that really emphasizes education, getting our community educated, and helping to revitalize that desire of education within our community in America and around the world. And we also understand that the cost of education, the difficulties that many young people and their families go through, is a crisis that's impacting all of us here today. Today's presentation, inshallah, is going to give you some tools, insight, information that I think you'll be able to utilize in your own real life. A lot of this information is very practical, and there's going to be a lot of topics covered. The only way to really remember everything I'm going to present here is to not take any notes, important. And if you brought your writing utensil, you're breaking the law, you got to get out of here as well. So did anybody bring a writing utensil or notepads? MashaAllah, you guys are all in the right spot. May Allah bless all of you for following the rules when you come to the masjid, inshallah. Today, we know about the student debt crisis. The student debt crisis is a major crisis that's impacting all of our lives. Whether we're Muslim or non-Muslim alike, is a problem that all of us have to go through. In the United States, right now, today, the student debt crisis is at over $1.7 trillion with a capital T. That makes it the largest debt inside of this country, higher than auto loans, credit card debt. The only debt that's bigger is, of course, home loans that exist right now. Because it's an astronomical number, 45 million American households and families, almost half the population here, are forced to borrow money to get their sons and daughters, to get their kids educated, and in order to get their higher education. The crisis is that the average student debt that we have in America is about $38,000, and the number is getting higher and higher and higher every single year. How do we afford higher education? How do we get our kids educated is the topic, part of the topic of today's conversation, and it's a real challenge that all of us as families, we have to go through and experience sometime in our lives. The reality is, my brothers and sisters, it's not only about college and education. When college is so expensive, when young Muslims have to pay astronomical amount and get into debt at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, it creates a lot of problems. It creates milestone and life problems. For example, many Muslims, I'm a bit older than most of the young folks here, and some of the adults are a bit older than myself, but we all know that once you're in college and you're going through that process, what happens afterwards? You want to get married, you want to have children, you want to get a house, you want to maybe buy a car. All of this becomes harder and harder to do because people have this huge debt on their backs that they have to carry with them. I do a lot of family counseling as well. And one of the biggest tragedies that I experience of young people in their 20s, mid to late 20s to get married, the number one reason they fight, that they have arguments, that their marriages fall apart is because of debt. He has debt, she has debt, they're trying to get their life together, they work full-time jobs, most of the money is going to there. Then even when they get pregnant or have children, they have to figure out how they're going to afford that plus paying off their loans. It creates tension upon tension upon tension. It really impacts people's mental health and their idea of success. We also have this crisis of some Muslims who are smart, who are really have a lot of potential. They choose to drop out of college, not pursue their education because of the debt that they have. This happened to me as well. When I was in college, I graduated from Drake University. I then went to law school. And of course, when I went to law school, I had my Salafi phase. Y'all have a Salafi phase? Adults, you guys have like a religious Salafi phase? Y'all know what I'm talking about? This is going to be a very funny presentation. Hopefully I can get some laughter. But I know I'm in Charlotte. Charlotte people apparently don't laugh or smile. They're very serious, right? Because you're in the South, and Southern folks are very serious. But for me, I got into my Salafi religious phase. I'm like, haram, everything is bad. So I left law school because I didn't want to take on student debt. But it all worked out because I work with Carol. I'll tell you about that later. But we have this problem that people are getting out. And one of the biggest problems is sucking barakah, money out of our community. every single person that has $1 of student debt, they're going to pay at least 40 to 75 cents back in interest on every dollar that you have debt. What that means is, let's say you take $10,000 of debt, you're not going to pay out back $10,000. You're going to pay back $14,000 to $17,500 back to the people that gave debt to. It's a huge crisis, a huge problem. It's impacting all of us today. So we understand the problem of student debt, but also we want to be the nation of Iqra Bismi Rabbika Alladhi Khalaq. We want to be the nation that reads in the name of our Lord who creates humanity from a leak like cloth that's in the wombs of our mothers. We understand that our global Islamic civilization, when we had Ibn Rushd, Ibn Sina, when we were on the front lines of all science and all civilizations, was when we were getting our kids educated, when we were on the front lines of this. And how can we do that? So getting education is a noble pursuit. We want our kids to be the most educated in this country. We want them to not only have their undergrads, but their master's, PhD, and really excel on all other kids. But we have this crisis, we have this duality. We want our kids to be educated, to be smart, to fulfill their potential, and we have this challenge of crisis and death that's impacting all of us as well. What's our solution? How do we get there? Well, this is a complicated problem. It's going to require a lot of people thinking about hard and taking action on a personal family level, on a society level, and on an institutional level. This charity, A Continuous Charity, is just one example, one solution that can, inshallah, get us to where we want to go. Let me tell you about myself and where I came from, what this is all about. 10 years ago, I had a lot more hair, mashallah, right? And I was in college at the same time. And when I was in college and I had more hair and I was a lot younger than I am today, myself and a good friend of mine named Dr. Attar Haq. Dr. Attar, interesting fellow. You know that Muslim who always comes to the masjid a bit too much? He's like too much in everybody's business, right? He's always there for Fajr. You always see him all the time. That's Dr. Attar Haq. He would go to the masjid, mashallah, when he was in medical school and I was at Drake University. And when he was at the masjid, he talked to the other brother and be like, yo, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have enough money for my next semester of tuition. I don't have enough money to buy my books. I'm running out of cash. I don't know what to do. So Dr. Attar, believe it or not, this medical student, he would take money, his own money, aka his father's money or his mother's money. He's a medical kid student. How much money does he got, right? So he would then borrow his parents' money without telling them. That's an important sunnah, right? If any of you take your parents' money, the important part is don't tell them you're taking it. So he'd take his parents' money. This is a lot of his jokes. Don't go home and say, Brother Faizan said, take whatever. He would take his parents' money and he would give them loans. He would loan people at the masjid who were having struggles paying for college. He'd be like, yo, bro, I got you. He'd give them money and then this spiral notebook. Imagine this, spiral notebook. He had a pen and be like, what's your name? Write down their name, write down how much they owed him. And every month, he was in medical school. He would take out his phone and call them and be like, Ya akhi, where's my money, bro? I'll see you at Fajr. I'll see you at Maghrib Salah. Don't show your face at the masjid unless you got my cash, right? He was running an operation inside the masjid, mashallah. So he was doing that. And after a while, you can imagine that gets pretty hard to do. Calling people, getting them to pay you back every month, it becomes difficult. So then he calls me. And at that time, I was working as the executive director of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. I have an experience over 10 years working with CARE. I have an extensive civil rights background, activism background, this type of background as well. And I also create nonprofits for a living. What I do is I create a nonprofit charity. I find some suckers, I find some righteous Muslims to then run that charity, and then I say Assalamu alaikum, and then I go home, watch TV, and just count the barakah coming in, mashallah, right? Just count it all day long. So Attar called me at that time and said, what if we created a charity with a simple idea? We go into the Muslim community, we raise money and pool our money together. We then loan that money to students. Faizan, I will create the contracts for them to make sure that's legally binding, that students pay back their loans. And as those students pay back their loans, we recycle that money and loan it to the next student, and the next student, and the next student, becoming a sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity. And alhamdulillah, when we started off this charity, it was such humble beginnings. Thanks to the blessing of Allah, we raised about $60,000 and helped about 5 students around the country. And I remember, as I mentioned in my khutbah, I would travel around the country and be like, Ya akhi, great idea. Okay, we need money. We're going to do this thing with charities, and we're going to help students go to college and get their education. And remember when I go to communities, people would be like, Ya akhi, $60,000? What is that, right? Half my family are Arabs. They do that type of thing, right? So they'll be like, $60,000, what's that? That's not going to help anybody. My son, my daughter has a loan of over $60,000. You're wasting your time and you're wasting your effort. What these people didn't understand is that when Allah blesses you and puts barakah in what you're doing, you're able to start with humble beginnings and you're able to grow it and grow it and grow it. And now, mashallah, 10 years later, all these numbers are old because we didn't update it for 2024 yet. But now, 10 years later, we've helped almost 500 students with giving them interest-free educational loans. We've been able to provide over $7.8 million. So again, these numbers are older, so I got to update this. Put that on my to-do list. $7.8 million in interest-free loans that we've given to students all around the country. And we've been able to give out $3.5 million in that loans repaid to us. $3.5 million, which means our system works. The contracts work, students know it's serious, and they actually pay back the loans. Over $3.5 million we've been able to get repaid. And the last number that I want you to memorize, not this number, but the one I'm going to tell you, I want you to memorize it right here, right here. The front of your brain, if those of you don't know, controls things like your body temperature, controls like your eye dilation. I want you to memorize this right here. We've been able to save the Muslim community over $4.5 million in riba, interest that they would have had to pay if they took on conventional loans that they paid back in 15 years. Why is it that we can't build our expansion for this masjid? May Allah bless you guys and help you build the expansion. Ameen. Why can't we build our Islamic schools? Why does our MSAOs have to sell cookies to get money to do stuff at their events? Why do we have these problems? It's because Allah has provided us with money and wealth, but it's being taken out with credit card debt, car debt, student loan debt. And all of that money in the hundreds of millions are being sucked out of the Muslim community. And A Continuous Charity is here to try to bring that back and really create a new change. A little bit about myself. Bro, new note. Let me get a better picture. This picture makes me look old, right? Do you guys like that photo? Yes or no? Show of hands. He likes it, mashallah. That's all I need, brother, mashallah. Either way, so my name is Faizan Syed, and I'm the co-founder of A Continuous Charity, alhamdulillah. And not only did I create this charity, but as you know, I used to be the director of CARE in the states of Missouri and in Texas for over a decade. I just left CARE in 2023, and then October 7th happened, and now everybody calls my number when they need help. So I'm like, well, if I'm already helping you for free, I might as well go back to CARE and at least get paid again, right? I should do something like that, right? You gotta be smart when you get older. And now I do nonprofit consulting. Like I say, I make multiple charities. I'm a serial entrepreneur for nonprofits. I do it as well. You can learn more about me at faizansayed.org, or I tell my students I do youth leadership work. You can also check out my website, which is faizandabam, and it's spelled DA-bomb.com. So you all can check that out as well. Like I said, tough crowd. This is Charlotte. Very serious people out here, right? Either way, let's continue. At A Continuous Charity, we have a simple mission. Our mission is to promote the spiritual and intellectual development of the Muslim community in America by providing interest-free student loans for higher education. And our vision is simple. By doing this, we hope to bring about a generation of graduates that will have a strong Muslim identity and be well-versed in their fields, using both for the benefit of mankind. How A Continuous Charity works is the most simple idea that's out there. We are not a bank. We are not a for-profit company. When we say interest-free principal loans, we actually mean interest-free principal loans. I think our community has been so abused by no interest that it's hard for people to trust or believe in that concept. What are we doing? We're a nonprofit. We just go in the Muslim community. You guys give us money, mashallah. We put that into our educational fund. ACC will then have students apply for our loans. Our application cycle is available January the 1st till March the 31st every year. Is open right now if any of you need these loans. You then apply. If you get it, then we pay your tuition in college. We get you your education, and then you repay back into this national fund. So every year we grow the fund, and then we help more students grow the fund and help more students. And that's really all A Continuous Charity is doing. How do we operate? How do we pay for salaries and whatnot? MashaAllah, Muslims are generous. Just give us money. We're like, Jazakallah khair. We'll see you on the Day of Judgment. And that's it, right? Easy program. Very simple idea in how we operate, inshallah. So you might be thinking, how do you apply for an ACC loan? And what are the criteria for applying? To apply, it's fair for everybody. What don't you do? You don't talk to Uncle Faizan and be like, Brother Faizan, I know you're the founder. My son, he needs some help. Can you help him out? Yeah, I can help him out. Here's the website link, right? That's all I can do. I create this charity to be corporate, American style corporate charity. What that means is I can't help you, the founder can't help you, Hamza can't, nobody can help you. You need to go onto our website, apply online. Everyone has equal access to apply. And when you apply online, all the information is there. There's no secrets, there's no tricks. You just visit our website, all the information is there. We look at 4 criteria. We used to look at geography, but we don't look at that anymore. And the 4 criteria are: number 1, financial need. Do you actually need these loans? Or are you like Dr. Utter? His father's a doctor, his mother's a doctor, his brother and sisters are doctors, and believe it or not, even his cat and his goldfish are all physicians, mashallah. I don't know how they got their doctor, but they all are. So if you need the loans, we look at that, number 1. Number 2, we look at their merit. How well are you doing in school? Are you getting good grades? Do you work hard? Are you a good student? Yes, then we're likely to get the grades. The number 2, these other 2 categories are unique for a continuous charity. We look at Islamic scholarship. That doesn't mean you have to be Maulana with a bigger beard than me and pants above the ankle than myself. That is not what it means. What it means is, do you take this religion seriously? Are you trying to be a better Muslim? Do you go to the halakas in your community? Do you take riba seriously? Are you trying to live a moral life and trying to be a better Muslim? If the answer is yes, then you're more qualified to get the loan. And you don't have to study Islamic studies or anything like that. We just want to make sure you take it seriously. You just can't have ilm. You also have to turn your ilm into amal, turn it into action. And so we look at not only your education and your Islamic knowledge, but also your community activism. Are you volunteering at the masjid? Do you volunteer at your MSA? Do you go to the food banks and these type of things? If it's yes, 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 you're more than likely to get a continuous charity loan, inshallah. Who do we loan money to? Basically everybody. We give it to undergraduate students, students who are about to start college, who are in freshman, sophomore, junior year, or senior year of college. We give it to graduate students, PhD and medical students. We've funded over 60 medical students around the country. Why? Because they got money, and inshallah, we call them like, Ya akhi, are you a doctor? How did that happen? I remember somebody helped you. Do you remember who helped you, brother? Yes, we need money now. We do stuff like that, right? Medical students, PhDs, and the last one is important. We refinance loans. Students who have graduated, have jobs, have careers, but they have $50, $60, $100,000 worth of debt. We will pay off that debt, either all of it or part of it, based on how much income we have, and then you just pay us what you're paying the bank. Right? Easy, simple organization. Our average loan, again, this number is old. Our average loan now is $25,000. Some students get $80,000, $100,000. Some students only need $1,000 or $2,000. It all averages to about $25,000. Every year, this number goes up. The average loan amount goes up, and the average loan repayment takes about 4 years. Some take longer, some less time, and it averages out to about 4 years for the repayment of our loans. Our goal ultimately, and I want all of you to join this goal with me and really renew your intention for this. The way that the capitalist system works in America is that it wants you to be an individual and to be like, how am I going to get my kids educated? How am I going to get my kids educated? And the reality is, if you do that strategy, you're not going to go far. All of us are going to take on debt. All of us are going to have our kids paying interest-bearing interest on these debt, and the money's going to be sucked from each one of us one at a time. Rather, what we're trying to do is we're create this charity to be a tool for the community to change me to we. How can we get our kids educated? How can we pool our money and resources together, give it to students that only need it for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? Education doesn't go on until you're like 60, 70 years old. I mean, higher education, right? For most people, you only need it for a short time. Pool your money together, get those kids educated, have those kids pay back into the pool, teach them the value of pooling money and being responsible for one another. And if everybody does that, you will solve the student debt crisis. We're on track, inshallah, to raise $100 million in the next 10 years. That's our goal, to raise money all across the country. We're working with this masjid, inshallah, when they're ready, with working with MEC. We're working with other Islamic centers, schools, institutions, businesses. And the idea is they create their own funds, help their own students. The students pay back into their local fund. I hope one day when you come into the masjid, there's a wall that has pictures of students that the masjid has helped here locally, and that's changed the culture of our community. If it's me and I'm going to help my kids, it's not going to go far. We're all going to be in this crisis together. But if we can change that culture to we, that's what a continuous charity is all about, and that's inshallah where we hope to go from here. Now, today we have a lot of fun activities for you to do. A lot of what I try to do with a continuous charity is find ways to put Muslims in awkward situations. So that is what we're going to do today, inshallah. Before, I have a very long presentation I can give that talks about scholarships, admissions, and it answers a lot of questions that people have about higher education. But before I go into that, I need to hear from all of you. The way we're going to give this presentation today is we're going to put you guys into groups. We're going to try and make it as awkward as possible, inshallah, right? We want it to be very awkward for you guys, so that way you're forced to, God forbid, talk to each other. Allah hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, right? God forbid you go to the masjid and talk to somebody else in the masjid. I know, it's very scary. We're going to have you guys stand up. We're going to have you get into groups. We're going to have the young people on their phones get off their phones. I know it's very tough to do as a young person, but we're going to force you to do that. And I want to have all of you answer this question. What are you most concerned about with higher education? What are what are you concerned about? Are you concerned about debt? Are you concerned about what degrees to study? Are you concerned about changing your majors in college? Are you concerned about how to apply for scholarships? What are you worried about? What's making you nervous? And in order to facilitate that, we are going to use these sticky notes. So, check it out, y'all, right? You're like, oh man, I didn't expect to do homework today. I know, but all of you did do your homework of not bringing any pens or writing utensils, right? So good, we did that, so we're one step on the way. We're gonna put these on the walls. I'm gonna put you guys in groups. I'm gonna number you out 1, 2, 4 for the men, 1, 2, 3 for the gals. You're gonna stand up, you're gonna find one of these that has your number on it. Yeah, bro, 3 on this side, 4 on that side, homie. We'll do like that. You're gonna find the one that has your number, and I want you to write down what is making you nervous? What are questions that you have? What are things that you're concerned about when it comes to higher education? It can be anything. It can even be like, I saw 2 brothers here. They're like, brother, how do I find a wife when I'm in college? That's really what I'm concerned about. Write down, I'll give you advice, mashallah. We have a whole presentation on finding a girl while you're in college. We got you, we'll hook you up, inshallah, no problemo. So we're gonna have you do that then. I'm gonna count the men 1 through 4, the gals 1, 2, 3. Get up, write on the walls. Wait, are these markers going to bleed through that? Well, whatever. The masjid can repaint the walls. It's fine. All right. Take one of these markers, and we'll get started. Any question about this activity? If you're excited about the activity, look at me with a blank face, a little bit of dread. Don't smile and give me any expression. Mashallah, you're all ready. I'm so excited about it. Mashallah, let's get started. All right, gals, let's get started. Only 3 on this side, 4 on that side. All right, look at me. Inshallah, 1, 2, 3. You see me, sister? What number are you? Good job. 4. I mean, not 4. 1. Sister, 1. I mean, 2. Oh, man, I can't count. 2, 3, 1, 2. Sister, you're 3. Sister, 1, 2 in the corner. You guys. And then 3, sister. There we are. No, you're, mashallah. Now we're good. 1. Sister, 2. And then 3. Inshallah. Tina, 3, no problem. 1, 2, 3, and 1. Mashallah. Very smart. We got a smart group of people over here today. All right, and then let me go to the fellas. But before I do, let me just number these for y'all. All right, gals, go on up, stand up, find your poster, get a marker, and write down, what are you worried about in college and higher education? Remember, grab a marker. All right, fellas, we're going to do this here as well, right? We're going to have some fun today. I flew out here for this, so it's going to be great. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, mashallah. 1, 2, 3, and 4, mashallah. What number are you? Oh my God, 2, and then 3. Oh man, smart kid. 1, 2, 3, and then up. Oh, you guys are great at counting. Math is a strong suit. 1, 2, 3. I already counted you, right? 4, inshallah. And then 1, 2, not today. 3 and 4, mashallah. All right, y'all, let's get up. Please grab a marker, men, and then come to your boards here. No, no, it's too complicated. There's more parents here than the other one. And then there's 4 of these? Oh, yeah. All right, y'all, you're going to have 8 minutes. Wait, can you all hear me? All right, inshallah, guys, you have 7 minutes to go. We'll call you back in 7 minutes. After 7 minutes, please come and take a seat, and we'll continue. Welcome, salam. Please take some markers. What? No, I'm good. It's got time to work. I think so. Right there. Yeah, bro, get it something. Slam dunk? Yeah, that's it, bro. To college, selecting majors, deciding on a career. Nice, nice. Now, what I love about this group is that you guys are using the yellow marker, mashallah, and have bad handwriting. 2 good things, mashallah. Yeah, yeah. Keep it up, inshallah. Sound, excuse me. Mashallah, the gals are doing great. How can you get the guys to do that good? Choose the major scholarships, comparing with my siblings. Man. Oh man, girls, you're cheating. You're like, this was so good, I got here a second time. Mashallah. All right, good times. Scholarships, what if I choose the wrong major? Getting accepted into your dream. My degree. Good. All right, y'all, only 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left. I'm gonna make sure to take photos of videos. Oh, mashallah is good. Come on, let's check out how they're doing. All right, y'all, how's it coming here? Finding the right wife. What? Oh, career. I'm sorry. I read that totally wrong. All right. Selecting majors, changing colleges, yeah, local versus outside. You mean like, do you guys mean in-state versus out-of-state? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Even in Charlotte versus. TK, yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, versus outside state or
Okay, that's a great question. I like it. Full rides? Which car? With Toyota? What's a ride? Education ride.
Maybe you need Uber.
No, we'll talk about that right now. Full rides as well, inshallah. That'd be good. Good. Most concerned about college culture. Good. We got a lot of great questions today. No, alhamdulillah, we're really excited. We have all the students working on the concerns that they have for their higher education. That helps us gear our presentation to really address their questions right away and go through all the information, inshallah. As a side note, once they're done, bring those to me because I can't read that far, and actually put them all on that wall. So that way all of the people here can read it as well. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I'll read it because last time it didn't work out well. Inshallah, guys, you have 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. When you're done, please bring your sheet and bring it up here and put it right here. Whenever you're done, please put them right here. Bring your sheet and put it right on this wall. Thank you, thank you. That's a great idea. We should have done that. No, we don't have one. I'll figure that out though, because we can give this slideshow and we have recordings we can share with everybody. That would help out. For this? Acha, acha. Oh, so there was a registration form? Yeah, there was one online. ठीक है, ठीक है. Yeah, bro? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Is there one more? No, that's some? It's too loud. All right. All right, everybody. MashaAllah. How did you guys like the activity? Was it good? Was it helpful to write down your concerns on paper somewhere with a bunch of strangers? I think so. Yes, MashaAllah. So let's read what you guys wrote here, and then we'll see, make sure if there's anything I'm not going to cover, I'll cover by adding it. How to get scholarships, we'll be covering that, inshallah. Most concerned about college culture. Oh, what do you mean by culture? You mean like fitna? Like worried about it, or what do you mean? Yeah, okay, cha-cha. Special to people from medical, I'll talk about that for sure. All right, applying to colleges, we'll do that today. Finding the right college, we'll talk about that. Finding the right career path, this is a tough one, especially for a lot of young people. Guidance in specific careers, we need to know the specific careers. How to prepare for competitive exams, 100%. MCAT, very tough. Paying for college, of course. Post-graduation opportunities, internships, MSAs. Oh, what about MSAs? Good, bad? Good, what? But what about it? Just, does it exist or not exist? Yeah. I'm just okay. All right, we'll figure that one out later. All right, deciding on a career, paying for college, major tuitions, paying for college, best institutions, all right, deciding on a career, scholarships, full rides. Ooh, we'll talk about that as well. Special question about that. Selecting majors, we'll do that. Scores and admission, how to get more scholarships, choice of college, local versus outside. I'll add that. Return on college investments. Oh, wow. Who asked that question? You did? Yeah. You're a smart guy. MashaAllah. I'm going to call on you later to answer that, to discuss that question, so that's great. Courses and curriculums. All right, good. Loan amounts, choosing a major, acceptance, scholarships, comparing myself with my siblings. Oh my goodness. Who did that? MashaAllah. How many siblings do you have? Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say like 12 or something. Okay, 2 other. MashaAllah. All right. We'll talk about that as well. Being overwhelmed with, are they older or younger? Oh, MashaAllah. All right. Being overwhelmed with work, finding the right friends, becoming distant with family, picking a college, dealing with stress, getting the right job, staying in touch with religion, 100%. My degree, scholarships, improving education, wanting to know MS, higher education, how to choose a subject course, how to apply for STET, how to improve, how to choose a good college for MBBS, medical. Is that what MBBS stands for, medical? All right, I'll talk about that today. Whoever asked that question, how old are you? What grade are you in? Okay, never mind. I'll just answer generally then. What if I choose the wrong major? What if I can't get a job? I thought I said, what if I get a job? I was like, that's a bad thing? Okay, what if I can't get a job? Getting accepted? Okay, how do I get scholarships? Great. Inshallah, let's go through our presentation today. There's a lot of information to cover. Inshallah, they are recording it. And then A contains chairs, just so you know, we have resources and these recordings already in place. You can watch them at a later date and get caught up as well. We'll do 3 different sections. We'll take a little bit of breaks in between each one. Asr is at 4:15. We'll take a break for Asr, and we'll get through as much of it as possible before I leave here at 5 o'clock, inshallah. Any questions before we get in? Great, let's jump in, y'all. So, the first thing we'll do is talk about clearing misconceptions when pursuing higher education, when choosing your degree or career. The few conceptions that are out there that we want to really get right now. Number one, there are many educational opportunities outside the traditional 4-year program. Many of us, we believe that when we graduate high school, we have to enter into a typical bachelor's program that's 4 years long, then you can go master's 3 years and continue. For many Muslims, that makes sense. For many people, that's what you want to do. However, not everybody is that studious. Not everybody is the right career path for you. There are career paths that pay quite a lot of money, and they don't require years of education. Some of these, of course, in construction, in plumbing, in car mechanics, car repairs. There's also accelerated programs, some of them in IT fields, and different courses and certificates that you can get that are much faster than going through a traditional 4-year program. And a lot of employers actually look more for that than they do even an undergraduate 4-year program. So really think about yourself, think about your level of studiousness, and understand that there are some areas outside and depends on per person basis. Number 2, getting into most colleges is not that hard. Getting into most colleges is really not that difficult. Most universities, they don't, especially if they're an in-state university, the threshold of getting in is really not that hard. What a lot of young people stress out about that adds too much stress to them is getting into the right college. The reality is now, especially with the Common App and the other apps that are out there, you can apply for 10, 20, 30 colleges, and the majority of them will let you in unless they're a more difficult or a challenging program to get into, unless they're like a very prestigious program. Most universities are going to let you in if your grades are decent and if you do decent amount of extracurricular activities and showcase your value in that. So don't stress too much about this. Rather, what you want to stress in how can you work in high school to get higher financial aid packages. That's where it becomes more difficult. That's where the real challenges happen, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But most of you, almost all of you are going to get accepted into colleges. Most all of you are going to get accepted into the colleges that you want, unless you want to get into a very prestigious or challenging program. Then it becomes a bit more exclusive. But if you're going to a state university in Charlotte, or if you're going to one of these places, they're really not that exclusive. At the end of the day, they're really not that hard to get into. What is a good program? We hear this all the time. I want to get into a good program. This school has a good program in XYZ thing, right? What does it mean to have a good program? Does it mean that it has a program that exists at that university? What does a good program mean? There's different ways to define it, but in this class, in this course that talks about debt, we want to understand a good program as being a program that allows you to accelerate or skip a hurdle that you typically have to go through. You can go through an accelerated process, or you can skip a hurdle, or they have a good program that connects you into a job placement. So what are the 3? Acceleration, skipping a hurdle, or they connect you to job placement. Let me give you an example of this. How many of you want to become doctors? Raise your hand. How many of you here want to become doctors? None of you? MashaAllah. Wow, this is a great community. What happened? Usually that's the complete opposite. Who are medical students over here? Adults? How many adults want their kids to become doctors? That's a better question. Just one, mashallah. Okay, never mind. Either way. So none of you want to, I'll still use this example. A good medical program, for example, might be the University of Missouri, Kansas City. They have what's called a 6-year accelerated medical program. What that means is that typically for a medical program, you have to go to a 4-year school, then you have to apply for medical school, then you have to do this whole process. At UMKC, you start the program right when you graduate high school. So when you graduate high school, you just have to get into UMKC's medical program. It's 6 years long. It's a trimester program. That means there's no summer break, no winter break, no fun, no party, no nothing. Parents love that, right? No fitna either. So it's a 6-year program. And after that 6-year program, you graduate. You don't have to take the MCAT. You do not have to apply for medical school. That's a good program because it's accelerating you it's skipping a hurdle, and there's a huge job placement. That's what it means to be a good program. My school has a great English program. Well, does it really? What makes it good? The fact that the brochure said it's good? How is it benefiting you? What is it making it good? At Drake University, they have an accelerated pharmacy program. Pharmacy takes typically 8 years plus to become a pharmacist, and you have to go through a test and exam. It's a hard process. Drake University has a 6-year program. In high school, you graduate, you apply for Drake University's pharmacy program, and within 6 years, you're a pharmacist. You don't have to reapply. Many schools have law programs. Anybody want to study law? Maybe you should ask, does anybody here want to study in college? I'm joking. So let's say you want to go to a law program. There are many schools that if you go into the school undergraduate and they have a law school, you do not have to take the exam to get accepted into the law school. You're automatically accepted into the law school. So what you're doing, you're accelerating and you're skipping a hurdle as well, right? This is what it means to have a good program. Now, some programs are called prestigious at a prestigious university. I understand that. But for us, let's try to be a bit more practical. What makes the program you're going into good? And for me, I like to look at programs that accelerate you, that skip a hurdle, or have good job placement. That's what it really means. Look at your programs with a little bit of caution. Don't just believe the brochures that you get, and look at it from that perspective. Number 4, employers are looking a lot more for experience than just the degrees. And this is especially true in IT and other fields as well. They want to show that you have experience in the field that you're working in, and the undergraduate program that you go into doesn't really play as big a factor as you might think. There are hundreds of students that graduate with all types of degrees. What separates you is your experience in that field, and we're going to talk about how do you gain experience before you graduate. Number 5, this is for our culture within our community. It is perfectly acceptable for students to have no idea what they want to study. And in this class, not even know if they want to go to college. But usually it's completely acceptable for students to have no idea what they want to study. 75%, the majority of students don't know what they want to study and what they want to go into. What does that mean for parents? That means your kids are sometimes lying to you. Your kids are in a situation where they're highly pressured to go into college to study a degree, and in order to accomplish that, they just tell their parents whatever they want to hear, right? If you really want your kids to become doctors, your kids might say, yeah, I'll study biochem, biotech, I'll study these things, but they have no intention of actually going through it. They're just saying it to their parents because that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear, they don't want to hear that conversation, so they just say this. This is something that as parents, we're going to talk about how to deal with that situation. You want to make sure that when your kids go to college and they're spending your money or they're putting themselves in debt, that they actively are doing it in a way that they're pursuing a degree that makes sense. And if they're not, how do you limit the burden on their higher education as much as possible? So we're going to talk about all of these, inshallah. First and foremost, we have to think about how does admissions work at university. Let's clear some misconceptions and going into how university admissions works. So how does admission work in most universities? Number 1, of course, admissions want to make sure that there's a high graduation number. They want to make sure when you get accepted that you are going to graduate that school. This one is key. I want you guys to really focus on here. If you're trying to get into a fancy program or an Ivy League college or whatnot, look at this section here. University admissions, they are not looking for everybody to be a leader. They are not looking for everybody to be a public speaker and play sports and that's not what they're looking for. Admissions typically are looking to create a holistic class of students, meaning that they need some people who play football, they need some people who do computer science, they need some people who are Muslims, some people who are Jews, some people who are Christians, some people are going to study English, social studies, math. They're trying to create a holistic freshman class. You see what I'm trying to say? And in order to create a holistic class, the real distinguishing mark that you might have, especially getting to competitive programs, is what niche, what hyper-specific area do you accomplish in that circle, in that field, that no other student has, right? What is it that makes you unique that no other student has in that university? And if you can fill that niche and have good grades and decent after-school program, a decent level recommendation, you can punch above your weight class and get into better universities because you fill a hyper niche that nobody else is filling. We'll talk more about that as time goes on. They don't just want 100 types of students. Every university, they have a math department, a social department, English department, this department, that department. And the university needs to fill all of these seats and to fill all of these students. And they also have a band, a sports team. They have clubs. They have these other things. So they're trying to find students who are, number one, studying the fields that they need so they can fill their classrooms and make sure that it happens, and that they have students who are also playing specific types of sports. For example, let's say you really love cricket. God, how many people play cricket in America? 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it, right? Not a lot of people. If you're very good in cricket and that's something you love, and you apply for schools that have a cricket team, and you're one of the few people that apply, guess what? They have to fill that cricket team. And if you're not the best grades, maybe don't have the best letters, but you have that cricket, they might accept you because they have to fill that team of people. Right? This is something we have to really start getting into the mindset. It's the niches and the depths of what you study, not making it that, oh, what do colleges want? They want you to be a leader, they want you to do this. Not thinking about that. Hyper focus and dig deep into that. They're looking for smart students who are passionate in their interest. What is the right interest? There is no right interest, right? That's something we have to understand. The interest is what you're interested in, how deep you can get into it, and that is something that's going to set you apart from other universities as well. So let's talk about qualities university seeks in applications. Number one, of course, this is obvious, academic excellence. You have to go to GPA. You have to have good class ranking. Class ranking is the rank that you're on the class. You might have a 4.0 GPA, but if your high school is based on a 5.0 scale, then that means even if you have all A's, you don't have all A's compared to the honor students or the AP students who have better A's than your A's. So you have to look at not only your GPA, but also you should ask your school, what's my son or daughter's class rank? It's a big distinguished mark. The ACT, SAT, and other standardized tests, they are going out of fashion, but they're still very, very important. These are going out of fashion, but they're still very, very important. One thing I want us to all memorize about the ACT, SAT test. MCAT, not so much. The law test, not so much. But these two tests specifically, I want you guys to memorize this thing. ACT and SAT tests do not measure how smart you are. All right? ACT and SAT tests do not measure how smart you are. When a lot of these kids, are any juniors? Who here is a junior? All right. So when you're a junior and all your friends start taking the ACT, SAT, some of them do well, some of you don't do well. If you don't do well, you might feel like, I'm dumb, I'm not smart, whatever, right? These tests do not measure how smart you are. These tests measure what's called familiarity with the test. How familiar are you with taking the ACT and the SAT in the time section? How familiar are you with the different types of questions it asks? The more you practice these tests, the more hours you spend on learning the little tips and tricks, the better you are going to do on the test. That doesn't mean you're going to get 36 on the ACT, but if you take the ACT, SAT without any preparation, without any familiarity, you're likely going to do very bad. Then the more you prepare, the more you practice, it's not about how smart you are, you will start doing better. So if we know that this is a familiarity test, what I strongly recommend, if you're a junior especially, and senior maybe it's getting a bit late, but juniors especially, take an after-school program, either online, hire a tutor if your parents can afford it, become familiar, force yourself, right? I can't force myself to do anything unless I pay somebody and then I feel that they see hurt that, my buddy's going somewhere, then I force myself to go there. Force yourself to be in a class that meets once or twice a week for an hour or 2 hours. Force yourself in that class. That teacher, that instructor will break down the test, teach you every section, teach you all the little tips and tricks. So once you see a question enough, when you see it on the ACT for real life, you know the type of question, you know how to quickly answer it, and you'll go quickly. These tests do not measure how smart you are. They measure how familiar you are with the test. To get a tutor, take an after-school program. I got the PSAT booklet, and I did it at home, and you know what happened in that book? I looked at it, I said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, I made tawbah, put it away, and never looked at it again. But when my father then like, Are beta, I have great news. Monday to Wednesday, guess where you're going to be, right? It forced me into the ACT exam, and that's when my test score started increasing. Understand that and prepare for that, especially your junior year, and I would recommend the summer of your sophomore year, you should do it. Number two, challenging coursework. Obviously, you want to take honor class and AP classes, and then some sorts of international baccalaureate. If you're smart and you're able to get into these classes, that's what's going to distinguish you a lot. You want to really try to take more aggressive classes as time goes on, and this is obvious. I think all of us understand the better classes you take, the better chance you are at getting into competitive programs. Extracurricular activities, all right. So all of us here know if you're smart and you get good grades and you take honors in AP, you're going to stand out. We all got that. This is what people don't necessarily get. Extracurricular involvement is extremely important. Any prestigious university, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, they're already getting the smart kids to apply for that school. They already have all A students applying for that school. How do you set yourself apart? Well, the way you set yourself apart is you take extracurricular involvement, and what that does, it allows for you to get involved in anything. Student sports, clubs, community service, leadership, research, artistic programs. There's no wrong interest. There's no wrong interest. If you like to play the clarinet, God, may Allah protect all of our kids from playing the clarinet. Ameen, right? But let's say your kids play the clarinet and they love it. And they become very, very, very good at playing the clarinet. If you're the only student that applies at Harvard and that plays the clarinet well, and you have decent grades, then guess what? You have a high likelihood of getting in because they're creating a holistic class of students. Harvard, believe it or not, this is a silly example, but I just share it because I think it makes sense. Has anybody read the book called Harry Potter? We're going to find out all the bad Muslims right now. Who's read Harry Potter? MashaAllah, just a few of you. All of you are safe. So in Harry Potter, there's this game they play called Quidditch. Silly game. They're on brooms. They play. It doesn't matter that you know it. Harvard has a Quidditch team. I'm not making this up. Harvard has a Quidditch team. Silly adults, college kids who are riding on brooms and playing Quidditch at Harvard, and they give full ride scholarships to kids to be in that, because if they didn't, they won't have a Quidditch team. So if you get decent grades and you know how to play Quidditch, then you can get it. I give that silly, ridiculous example. The point is, you need to take extracurricular activities, but you have to do it in a certain manner. And the certain manner is you have to get really good in whatever your interest is and stand out from all other students in that specific interest. We'll talk about sports and clubs. Let me give you an example of sports. Sports. How many of you guys like basketball and soccer? All right. How many of you are good enough that you think you'll get a scholarship in basketball and soccer? MashaAllah, we have a lot of realistic students in this class. How many of you play sports like pickleball or tennis or field hockey? Very few. You play field hockey? Tennis, MashaAllah. The number of students who play basketball and soccer are a lot of kids. So let's say you want to get a sports scholarship. If you're going to play basketball and soccer or football, then you're competing with a lot of kids. But if you play a sport that nobody else plays, right, and nobody else is good at except for you and like 10 other kids, and then you apply for a school that has that sports team or a sports program in that team, and now you're one of the best people in that sport for that team, you have a high chance of getting into a prestigious college and a university because you play a sport in an area that not a lot of people play, right? So any of these interests, there's no wrong interest. Choose your interest, a club, MSA, community service, feeding the hungry, leadership, whatever it is. Find your interest and go deep, deep, deep in that interest. Set yourself completely apart from everybody else, and that's what's going to give you the competitive edge when you're going for college and applying for these educations, right? We all know grades are important, but this is another way to stand out. Essays and personal statements, important area. Nearly all universities, especially 100% of all scholarships that are out there, require essays and personal statements. Now, what is an essay and a personal statement? It is, as it sounds, a personal statement about who you are. One of the biggest mistakes that we see, even if you hire tutors who write personal statements, is that the parent or the tutor will write what they think the college wants to hear. You write what you think the college wants to hear. And you basically embellish yourself. Oh, I'm a leader and I do this and I care. Da, da, da. And the thing is, if I'm a nerd, and I work at a university, that's people who work in university are nerds and kind of like, people got shoved in lockers. So let's say you're in admissions department and you get 1,000 applications and you have 1,000 letters that are coming in. You can in 1 second know if that student had professionals help him write his letter, and you can know when the student's embellishing because it's written like, I'm an amazing student, I'm so smart, I have all these great grades, blah, blah. They'll read it and they'll know it and they'll kick it out right away. It doesn't interest them because they do that 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40, like that's their job. How do you write a letter in a personal statement that stands out? This is odd to say. You actually write about yourself. Write about your struggles in life. Write about what makes you different. When I got accepted to Drake University, which is a private university, my father, he's a carpenter, right? He works in people's homes. When I was a kid, I was helping him install toilets and carpets and roofs and things like that. Now, typically, our understanding is like, oh, you don't put that in your letter. They're going to think you're, Bindu, whatever, like some weird kid. Why would you put that in your letter? That's crazy. When I wrote my letter, I included that. I said my father is very poor. We do this. I've been doing that my whole life. Because of that, I couldn't take leadership class. I couldn't take clubs after school because I was helping him earn a living. But my grades are good, and I would really try hard if I go in there. Because of that, I got a full scholarship for my university. Why? Because, again, you're that nerd. You're sitting here, and you read great letter, great letter, great letter. And then you hear Faizan Syed, son of a carpenter from Pakistan, and he works hard, and he helps his father install toilets and things like that. It totally stands out. Be honest about yourself. There is no right personal statement. There's no, like, this type, you gotta get that out of your head. If you can say, my parents are from Syria, and we came here during the Syrian Civil War, my father had to work in a store, and I had to do this, it makes a big impact. If your parents are doctors or IT professionals, write that. Write about yourself. Be as personal as you can in your personal statements. Move the person on the other side. Don't be robotic, right? Don't say, I did this and this and this. Bro, I don't want to read that. Do you want to read that? Heck no. Especially if you're working a job for 8 hours a day. But if you get a letter that's very emotional, that talks about the person and their struggles and challenges, makes a huge impact and can really go a long way. Number 5, letters of recommendation. Students and parents, listen up to this one. Your English teacher is going to write you a letter of recommendation. Your math teacher is going to write you a letter of recommendation. All of your teachers in your school and your counselor will write you letters of recommendation. That's their job. That's what they get paid to do. But guess what? If I work in an admission department or a scholarship, and I give a scholarships, does that really impact me? MashaAllah, my English student is so great, blah, 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 blah. Bro, everybody's going to your same English teacher for writing letters, and they're writing 50 letters for the same. That's not interesting. You guys get what I'm trying to say? If they're the only people that can write letters, MashaAllah, that's great. What letters make the biggest impact? Inshallah, we're going to do it for 5 more minutes, then we'll conclude, right? Our first round, we'll take a break for Asr. Letter of recommendation. What really make the biggest impact? Not teachers, not counselors, though they're great. What you want to do is you want to find a career or an interest that you really care about. Find adults who are in that career or do that interest and have them write your letter of recommendation. Let's use medical for an example. Here in Charlotte, we have the Shifa Clinic, right? Who works at Shifa Clinic? Older Muslim people who don't smile that often. That's kind of a requirement to work at a free clinic, right? But these are people who've been working in these clinics for a long time. They're medical professionals. They are in the industry. If you want to go into medicine and your letter of recommendation is from your English teacher, okay. If you want to go into medicine and then your parents took you to Shifa Clinic and you volunteer week after week, and now the old doctor who never smiles, right, who's always angry, right, but he has a 35 years he's been practicing medicine. He works at the medical school, right, that you're part of, or he's part of the network there, and he writes you a letter of recommendation and said, this high school kid volunteers every week. I highly recommend it. I have these, prestigious awards and whatnot. What's going to make a bigger impact? What do you think? Okay, I assume you guys know the answer, but you're not talking, right? Because the Charlotte culture, right? Either way. That's what you want to try to do. Whatever you want to study in the future, IT work, engineering work, medical work, even if you want to study whatever, it doesn't matter what your field is. Find adults in that field who know you by your first name and can write you a letter of recommendation. That is going to make a huge impact versus your teachers, your counselors, and whatnot. Now, that's not easy to do because high school kids are very awkward, they're very shy, and for adults, we find them very annoying. I hate to say that to young people, but Uncle Faizan will tell you the truth. Your parents are too nice, but Uncle Faizan will tell you the truth. Shy, quiet, and annoying. And underline the last part, annoying. Really, it happens a lot. So what happens is that a lot of these adults are not going to write you a letter of recommendation because you show up once and you do whatever, right? You need to really force yourself for these adults to know your name, write you a letter. And if I work for Microsoft for 10 years, then I got a job for Texas Instruments, and then I got a job for Cisco, and I've been doing this for 30 years, and I write a letter for a high school kid, that's going to make a big impact if he's going to go into computer science or IT. Is it or is it not, right? It'll make a big impact. So that's what you have to do. Young people have to go out of their way to get these letters, especially if you're trying to apply for difficult scholarships or you're trying to apply for universities that are very prestigious and challenging. Most universities will let you in. Like I said, getting to most universities is not hard. All you're going to get into college, not an issue. But for scholarships and for the more prestigious, difficult programs, this is what you need to do, inshallah. 2 more, and then we'll stop. Standardized tests, right? Standardized tests, ACT, SAT, so on and so forth. All I can tell you guys, this is where you need to force yourself, either as a high school student or as a parent, hire a tutor, take a class that meets in person, and if it's too expensive, online courses. There's 101 online courses out there. Do the online course, because the test does not measure how smart you are, measure how well you've taken this test, how many times you prepare for it. And when I took the ACT after my course, literally I can open up any section of the ACT, tell you the type of questions asking, tell you the ways to respond and answer that question quickly, and I haven't even read the question, right? Because that's how these tests are designed. They're designed to do that, inshallah. Take it as many times as you can, and of course take the sample test. Demonstrate passion and special talent. Again, universities really want to get that niche. They want to showcase that you have a genuine interest in something and that you build that interest, you build that talent, even if it's playing the clarinet, even if it's singing, even if it's artistry, even if it's playing crochet, even if it's playing chess, even if it's playing Quidditch. You get your mom's broom, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, you go out in the field and play Quidditch. But show that genuine passion and build it deeper. Be the best in whatever niche specific thing that you do, whether it's robotics or whatever, show it. And that's what's going to set you apart, inshallah. Diversity and inclusion, all of us, mashallah, many of us are immigrants, many of us are Muslims, some of the Muslim sisters wear hijab. That means you automatically get in this category. You already have a competitive edge over your friends and other people who don't have this type of diversity and inclusion background. So you already have that, so I'm not going to talk over that. That's just kind of who you are and how you're done. Number 9, interview processes. Many scholarships and many very prestigious universities require an in-person interview. Why do they require an in-person interview? Because people in the community are sometimes rich. They can hire tutors and experts like myself that come in and help coach your kids, and you write the best letter and you get in all the courses. So now the last line of defense that these universities have is a one-on-one interview. And the one-on-one interview is very kind of difficult if you've ever done a one-on-one interview, especially for a university. You go into a room, parents are not allowed. You have the interviewee and then one other person taking notes, and then you come in as like a shy, high school kid. Where do my hands go? I don't know. I'm making fun of you guys. That's just to be funny, right? But you kind of come in, it's like this super awkward situation, and then you sit down and they're like, tell us about yourself. Who here can tell me about themselves in a way that would make me care about you? Who's in high school? Probably not a lot of you are confident in that, right? To be better at interviews, you need to practice this portion of it. Many scholarships, especially prestigious universities, require the interview. And the way to get better at it is to practice, to do interviews, ask these questions, and then you'll become familiar with it as well. And last session, oh no, that's it. And then we're done for now. It's 4:10, we're gonna take a break. It starts at 4:15. After Asr, we'll continue our presentation, inshallah. Barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum, y'all. Yes, assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, doing good. How are you? Omar, mashallah, nice to see you. I have something for you. No, I don't. Continue. What are you going to say? Hello, hello. Bismillah. Hello, hello. Y'all can hear me? Yes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد. Despite my best efforts to bore you and scare you away from this presentation, for some reason you've all decided to come back for more of it. Inshallah, it'll be very helpful and beneficial. We're going to go until 5 o'clock. I have to catch a flight back to Dallas tonight. So after 5, I'll be able to stay for a few more minutes, but then I'll have to leave. Hamza, are you here? Hamza? No? Oh, man. When I see him, I'll ask him to pass me the flyer. Ask him to just call him. Hold on. Let me call him for a second. Welcome, Sam, bro. Do me a huge favor. Can you bring in the flyers for the event and then also the booklets for us? Thank you so much. Bye-bye. As we were saying, so despite my best attempts, you're all here for more. Inshallah, you'll find this beneficial. At the end, we'll open up for Q&A. I know there's some specific questions about medical school and other questions that were here as well. I'll be more than happy to stick around as long as I can to answer those questions. I'm going to switch gears. So last time we were talking about admissions. What are admissions looking for? How can you make yourself stand out? What should you be focusing on in order to get there, especially for extracurricular? We all know getting good grades. As much as you get good grades, get honor classes, get AP classes. In the IB program, do those as well. And then pursue a specific interest, pursue a specific passion, and get as deep into that as possible. Get a letter of recommendation not only from your own teachers, but also get them from people in the fields and the areas that you want to study in the future. If you can get somebody who's an adult in that career path that can write you a letter, it has a huge impact compared to other folks in other fields as well. So inshallah, right now we're going to switch gears to about planning by the year. What should you do each year that you're in college and they're in high school in order to really plan the best for college as well? Again, this isn't the be-all, end-all, simply because some people have a dual program where they'll start taking college courses in their junior and senior year. MEC does, MEC, is that it right? MC, what? MEC, yeah, MEC does that, for example, and there's another area. But just in general, let's talk about it so you can get an idea of what to expect or plan and focus on. Your freshman year of high school, you really want to hyper-focus on, again, academics. You want to get good grades. You really want to try to get all A's if possible. And and as time goes on, you're going to try to take a series of harder classes to show that you're able to be academically rigorous. Also, your freshman year, you want to explore extracurricular activities. So this is the year that you want to start playing sports and go to leadership club, join your MSA, play an instrument, though we won't play an instrument, whatever it is. Start joining a lot of different clubs and activities and sports and whatnot to see what you might find interest in, and then also include that on your college resume and application. As time goes on, though, your sophomore year, you want to then maintain your academic excellence. So again, it's about maintaining A's if possible. Some B's are acceptable. If you're trying to really stand out, try to get A's. And also start taking harder classes. If your school offers honors, take honors. If they have AP classes, start taking AP classes. Don't burn yourself out. I've had a lot of students that I speak to who they took all honors and AP classes. They burned out halfway through the year. And then their one semester, you see A's, 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 and then D's and F's, right? Because they eventually get to the point where they just feel they can't take it, and they fail. Don't overburden yourself that much. It's better to get an A in a regular class than to get a D in, let's say, an honors class or a program, right? So be mindful of that. Don't overwhelm yourselves. Maintain academic excellence as you go through it. And in this sophomore year, you want to start not doing a lot of your extracurricular activities and focus more on those activities that you actually care about, that you enjoy, that you find benefit and value in. Again, there's no wrong interest out there. Rather, whatever your interest is, get deeper into it, get more active in it, get more involved in it. And sophomore year really is when you want to begin test preparation. Sophomore year is when you want to start taking SAT or ACT prep courses. Start hiring a tutor, take it online, take it after school, whatever it is, start it. Because if you can start getting familiar your sophomore year, you still have a whole year before you're going to start taking the PSAT or other practice exams, and you're already familiar with how the test is run, how it's timed, the quirky type of questions it asks. You become familiar as your sophomore year. It's going to make a big impact when you take it your junior year. Junior year is when you want to start really selecting rigorous courses. Sophomore year, get A's and B's as much as you can. Here's when you want to start taking those honors and AP classes as much as you're able to do so and go in that area. This is when you want to focus on your standardized testing as much as possible. This is when you're going to start taking some of these standardized tests and get into it. Your junior is also when you want to start building relationships for what? Letters of recommendation. What letters of recommendation do you want? Adults in the fields that you hope to study in the future. Find those adults, find those experts. The older they are, the better, because the older people have a long resume that they have. Get those people to know you by your first name and last name, and they write a really sincere letter of recommendation. It's going to stand out. It's going to make a big impact. Pursue leadership in your interests. So freshman year, you're trying everything. Sophomore year, you're only focused on the stuff that you really find interesting and care about. Junior year, you want to become the president of your club, the vice president, a secretary, a treasurer. Take on a leadership role in the areas that you're interested in. In music, you want to become the first chair. In sports, you want to try to become a captain or at least a higher position in that sport as well. That's when you focus on junior year. Junior year should be the hardest year for high school students. Junior year should be the hardest year. Why? Because senior year, after your first semester, you're applying for colleges, and you start getting admissions by your last semester of your senior year. As long as you don't completely fail out your class and do something crazy, you're going to get accepted to the college. Colleges really have this year to really get a good idea of who you are as a student, your work ethic, and your leadership and other abilities. The junior year is really what stands out. Senior year, really not as much, well, especially when you start applying for colleges and getting those letters and offer letters as well. The summer before your senior year, that's when you want to spend that summer, really focus on developing your college list. What colleges do you want to go to? Are they in Charlotte? Are they in the state of North Carolina? Or are they outside the state of North Carolina? We'll have a conversation about making that decision in a little bit, but ultimately cost should play a big role in what school you're going to. If you're going to travel out of state to study sociology, history, English, art, or other degrees, I would personally, I hate to say this, I would personally highly advise against that. Because the English program here is just as decent and good anywhere else, right? Unless there's a very outstanding, prestigious, amazing, out-of-the-box type of program, which there are not that many of, it's not worth paying out-of-state tuition for something like that. Even IT and other computer science, they have it in your local city, their local community. Don't pay out-of-state tuition to go to another place because they have an amazing program, unless they're doing something like an AI or something that's really cutting edge that you can't get there. Other than that, most universities offer most programs that you can do in your local city or at the very least in your local state. And from a budget perspective, you should take that very, very seriously. Now, if you get accepted to the University of Missouri, Kansas City for the medical program, assalamu alaikum, go, right? But if you get accepted for the University of Missouri, Kansas City for their English program and you go, la hawla wal quwwata. There's something really not happening good in that situation. Again, prepare your college list and have that deeper conversation. And again, I can give advice per program and whatnot. I can do my own research on it. I give you one-on-one advice, but this is my general advice. Don't leave your city. Don't leave your state for sure, unless there's something you're really pursuing that makes that common sense. Don't do it because your friends are leaving the state. Don't leave because that's the cool thing to do. You want to get a college experience. You want to live on the West Coast. You want to live on the East Coast. You want to live in a tropical area. All of this is complete and total nonsense, complete and total fiction that you're being sold like Disneyland. Don't fall victim to that. It is not worth paying out-of-state tuition. That's going to take you decades to pay off. You're going to be older than me, still paying back your tuition to live. It doesn't make sense, right? So be mindful of that. And I can give specifics now. Some states have different programs, and overseas there's different opportunities, but I'm just giving you general advice and information right now. Volunteer intern. Summer, you want to start volunteering and interning in places you can get those adult letter recommendations. You need to do something, get a job, work, get that done in this summer year, so that way you can put it on your college application for the fall semester of your senior year. Prepare for applications and start writing your personal essays. Personal essays should be what? Personal, about you. What makes you unique? What makes you interesting? There is no right essay to write, right? The only wrong essay to write is the fake essay, the essay that you're trying to write just to make yourself look good. Talk about your family challenges, your problems, your struggles, your hopes in the future, what you hope to do, why you hope to get there. Be personal. It's going to make a big impact. And then there's a bunch of different applications like Common App and others. What Common App and others are is just there's online ways to apply for multiple universities at once. Make an account on these cycles, make an account on these services, and apply for multiple universities, whether it's in Charlotte, whether it's in North Carolina, like Raleigh or other areas. Get multiple, as students, you want to get multiple offer letters from multiple universities. Why do you want to do that? Because you want to be able to compare what aid packages they're going to give you. Every university is going to send you a letter. It's going to be a big packet. Now it's digital, but old school, let's say it's a big packet, and in that's going to say, congratulations, you've been accepted. Most of your applications are going to be accepted unless you apply for a very difficult, prestigious program. And in that's going to say, this is how much it's going to cost, this is how much we're going to pay you. Write that in an Excel sheet, sit down with your parents, have a frank conversation as you get those return letters from your universities, inshallah. Senior year, what do you want to focus on senior year? Senior year is not as intense. Finalize your coursework, make sure you graduate. About 5% of high school students sometimes don't have enough credits to graduate, which is very odd, especially if you're trying to graduate a year earlier, semester early. Make sure you're ready to graduate on time. College application. Now you start applying for the different colleges. Fill those out as soon as you can and get those sent out. Apply for scholarships and financial aid. I'll talk about scholarships in a moment, how to apply and where to find scholarships. But for financial aid, fill out FAFSA, which is a federal aid program. That's everybody has to fill out anyway. Fill that out and have that ready. If you're going to apply for difficult colleges or for difficult scholarships, prepare for interviews. Get a coach, go to YouTube, whatever it takes. Learn how interviews are done. For your kids, parents, you can't help your kids with the interview. They have to do a one-on-one. If your school requires an interview, have them learn it, have them practice it, have them go through it. They're going to get a lot better. And then last but not least, parents and students, sit down, have an honest, frank conversation. How much can your family afford? Realistically, where does it make sense to go? What are the best offers out there? And make a decision based off of that and have that really difficult conversation with your family your senior year, inshallah. Now, let's continue. We're going to conclude with ways to reduce your debt, and then I'll conclude, and then we'll open it for question and answers. Everybody, right now, if you have a cell phone, take it out and scan this QR code. This is called the Smart Asset Calculator. The Smart Asset Calculator. Parents, young people don't know what $10,000 is. Some of them do. Some of you guys are smart. Most young people have no idea what $10,000 is, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. These are numbers that have no basis in reality, that make no sense to young people's minds. This is something we have to understand as adults. Even if your kids are in high school, even if they're in college, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, these are just fake numbers that just really don't make any sense. This calculator, what?
Is it annual-based or it is per course?
This? And this is to graduate. So we're going to do this activity right now. Undergraduate right now is $38,000 on average. Master's and math program is $44,000 to $50,000, $7,000 is the average debt. Graduate programs, medical programs, things like that are $131,000 to $262,000. So let's do this calculator and see what we're able to come up with and how much are you going to pay off your debt, right? So let's go through it. Smart Asset Calculator, student loans. All right, so let's click on this. So the reason I like the Smart Asset Calculator is because it takes you to this page right here, and what it does is it allows you to enter in the information of how much loan you're going to take, the interest rate on it, how many years it's going to take to pay it back, and it's going to tell you how much you're going to pay. Parents, do this with your kids, do this activity so they understand and they know. So we know right now undergraduate is $38,000. The interest rate right now is about 6.5%. The average loan is about 15 years to pay it off. So if you take out $38,000 of debt, right, the students especially focus, you're not going to pay $38,000, you're not going to pay $48,000, you're going to pay almost $60,000 over that 15 years to pay out a $38,000 loan. That's almost $20,000 more than that's more than $20,000 of what you took at that time, right? Really think about that. And you're going to spend how long paying it off? 15 years. That means you're going to be like my age, and you're still going to be like paying off your loans. You're going to have kids, you're going to have, like 3 or 4 kids at that time. You're still going to be paying it off from that era. That's only if you go undergraduate with a 6.5% interest loan. What do we have here? for master's program, let's do 40. Let's do let's do 50,000, right? So let's say you go for like a master's program or something of that nature. You take out $50,000. Now you're paying back almost $30,000 in just interest on the loan, right? Over 15 years. Most students take more than 15 years to pay it off because, oh, my battery's running low. All right. Wait, let me plug that in. Is Hamza here? No. Guys, give me a second. Let me plug this in so I have it available. The outlet where? Behind me? Achha. Is that my charger? Oh, here it is. Sorry, guys, I'm traveling, so. Let's go here. All right, mashallah. All right. Okay, so we're good now. So as I was saying, it's gonna be about $78,000. If you get into medical program, or let's say graduate, let's just do the least amount, which is $131,000. You're gonna pay back almost $70,000 extra in interest. This is a really important exercise to do because students might think, oh, I'm gonna take out $30,000 worth of debt. Yes, but you're gonna actually end up paying almost 40 to 70% more in the repayment. And that's assuming you make a monthly payment every month for 15 years, 20 years. You don't miss anything, and then you get charged fees and additional interest rates and penalties and things like that. This is an important activity everybody should do, inshallah, they're applying. Let me go through these kind of quickly so we can end on time. I'm just gonna give you guys 10 ways to reduce your college debt and burden. I do wanna say not all of these ways make sense for everybody, and some of these are really dependent on the student. Again, if you get accepted into a medical program accelerated, you're gonna have to do some of these. But in general, let's just think about debt from that perspective, inshallah. Number one, dual enrollment. So many programs have what's called dual enrollment. While you're in high school, you can start taking college credit classes and earning credits. For those of you who don't understand how college credits work, in order to get a degree, you have to get a certain amount of credits to graduate. For simple terms, let's say you need 100 credits to graduate college, right? While you're in high school, you can actually take some of these credits by taking college classes, and then overall, when you start college, for sure, now you only need 70 credits to graduate, right? So you can then graduate a semester early, a year early, maybe 3 semesters early, and that's money you're not paying for the higher education, right? So this is something that really should be looked into for dual enrollment. Important. For very prestigious universities like Princeton, Harvard, Yale, these type of things, Washington University, Georgetown, they do not accept a lot of dual enrollment classes. That's something we should understand as well. Very prestigious university, they don't accept it, and you have to make sure that whatever field you want to go into, speak to your guidance counselor and just make sure the credits at the community college usually, or your online program, are actually going to transfer to the college you want to go into. It's only a 10-minute conversation. They'll say it's a simple yes or no answer, and make sure you're doing that as you're going through it. It'll help reduce fees and help get you college ready and help with that transition and let you graduate early. Number 2, consider community college. I know as a community, we want all of our kids to excel and do very well. And again, this is not advice for everybody. If you're smart, you know exactly what you want to study and where you want to go, don't go to community college. Go directly into your 4-year program. Go directly where you want to go. That's the best option. However, if you're part of that 75% of students who really don't know what they want to study, if you're part of that group that really don't know where you want to go and you're just telling your parents what they want to hear, I would strongly recommend before you go to college and you start paying the full tuition rate of a university, consider community college. Why? Because if you don't know what you want to study and you go into an undergraduate program, you are likely going to change your degree. Over half of all students, that means 1 in 2, right? And you're married to your wife, so that means there's a high, I'm joking, right? There's a 1 in 2 chance of your kids switching their major. When your kids switch their major, the core class that they take most of the time have nothing to do with the major that they switched into. So what happens if people switch their majors in college, they then take a semester longer to graduate, a year longer to graduate. 3 semesters or 4 semesters. So now your undergraduate that should have been 4 years is now 5 years, 5.5 years. It takes longer to graduate. That is a very difficult situation to be in, and you're going to be in a lot more debt. Again, I can't tell you to do this or that. You need to look at yourself, really have an honest conversation, and maybe community college might be right for you. Community college allows you to still get college credit. Again, you make sure your college credits will transfer into the university you want to go to, but it gives you a little bit of that breathing space to really figure out what you want to do. Once you know what you want to do, when you go to college, go into college and graduate as quickly as you can. Take as least debt as you want, as you can, and go from there. Number 3, live at home. I know many of us, we sometimes get annoyed by our parents and things like that. Live at home. What's more annoying than your parents is paying debt by the time you're 35, 45, 55. That's much more annoying than, beta, where were you, right? Let's put it in perspective. Don't live on campus. Campus dorms are priced at almost 40% higher than rent around the university. So if you live on the ghetto, ugly, disgusting dorms on campus, they're more expensive than if you got the apartment right across the street, right? This is just the way this is. This is a money-making industry. Live at home, because every dollar you spend to live in one of these prison-like cells, you're going to pay $1 plus 40 to 70 cents back to the university. Avoid as much as you can. Again, if you get accepted into like Drake University's pharmacy program, go. Live on campus, do whatever it takes, because you're going to become a pharmacist in 6 years, it'll be fine. If not that accelerated program or rush program, don't live on campus. Also, if you live on campus, that's where a lot of fitna happens on campus. I'll tell you my personal experience. When I was at Drake University, the floor I was living on, imagine this, fellows especially, imagine this. The first 6 rooms were for men, the other 12 rooms were all ladies, and my room was right next to the stairs. So mashallah, I got to give a lot of dawah to all the sisters. I did my Muslim duty, mashallah, right? Got to give a lot of dawah to college ladies. I'm joking. The point is, that's what college is like. You have men and women who are young interacting with each other. Living on campus is not for everybody. A lot of kids make a lot of mistakes. There's drugs on when I went to college, I went to a prestigious university. There were drugs there. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. Because you have kids living together in this building. Avoid as much as possible. And again, don't go crazy with that, but that's something to avoid. Do not get the meal plan at the university. Big mistake. Don't get the food from your university. Fast or eat at home. The average cost of a meal plan is $660 a month. $660 a month. That's $23,000 over 4 years. Add 40% or 70% in interest, you're not paying $35,000 for food for 4 years? It's crazy. Eat at home. On average, you'll spend about $9,500, and the best thing is your mom and dad will cook it for you, so you don't actually spend anything. Continuing, number 5, avoid buying new textbooks, especially your freshman, sophomore year. Those textbooks are a scam. What the industry does is every year they create a new edition of the same textbook. And most of the time they just switch around chapters and switch around numbers here and there. If you're smart, you need to use some common sense. If your teacher is teaching you about trigonometry, open your math textbook to the trigonometry chapter. It's not going to have the same page numbers as what they're saying, but it's going to have almost the exact same content. There's amazing YouTube videos out there that they get editions of textbooks in all fields, and they show how it's exactly the exact same, except page numbers are different. Rather use used textbooks, rent textbooks, digital textbooks, and my favorite is online marketplace swaps. So there's an online marketplace where kids who are a year older than you have gone there, have their textbooks, and they'll just give you their textbooks and you give them your textbook. You swap. You go in this marketplace. It's free. That's the cheapest way to get textbooks, is to do marketplace swaps in that area. Get a job. Get a job. Most colleges are rigorous. They're difficult, but they're also not that bad. Unless you're taking a very aggressive course or a very aggressive program, then it's bad. But most colleges are not, most undergraduate degrees are not that crazy challenging. I'll give you an example. McDonald's. I was for boycotting McDonald's, so this is the halal McDonald's, all right? So let's say you get a job at McDonald's even, right? McDonald's, and nobody wants to get a job there. It pays minimum wage. McDonald's now pays $12 an hour. And if you work only Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours a day, and again, if you go to work at 8 o'clock, you come back at 4 o'clock. Is 4 o'clock late, you guys? 4 o'clock in the afternoon, is that late? Not really, 4 o'clock is not that bad. She's like, yeah, that's late, because I go to sleep at 6. But the rest of you, 4 o'clock is not that bad, right? You can go to work just 2 days a week, 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You have plenty of time to hang out with your friends, socialize, go to the MSA, find a wife, whatever you want to do. And you can make, in 4 years, almost $40,000. What is the average student debt? $38,000. So just by working the weekends, 8 hours on 2 days a week, you can almost make as much as your undergraduate debt is going to be. Now, when should you not do that? If you're in, again, very difficult prestigious programs, don't get a job. But for the rest of us, the average undergraduate degree, you can easily get a job and do that as well. It also gives you some spending cash, learn time management, learn skills, and you can build your resume as well. Number 7, applying for scholarships. I have a whole session on how to apply for scholarships, how to build your resume, how to do this process. We just don't have enough time to go through it. So all I'm going to do is give you these websites here, inshallah. There are 1,000 scholarships that are available. Scholarships are typically available based on what field you want to study, your ethnicity, and a whole variety of factors. FastWeb, Brighter College Future, Scholarship.com, others, these are all free services. Make an account. Go ahead and make an account today. If we had another hour, I would have you make your account right now. It takes like 10 minutes to make an account. It asks you for your personal information. It asks you for your interest. Where do you hope to go in the future? And then it'll then give you scholarships that match your criteria. Like technology made it very easy. When I had to apply for scholarships, you want to know what I had to do? I had to go to the library, this ancient, cult place where they give stuff away for free, like a bunch of hippies, right? Something crazy like that. Now you have the internet. You can literally make an account. They'll give it to you. They'll send you scholarships. One of the mistakes that people make is that they say, I want to go into this field, and then they search for scholarships in that field. Rather, what you can do in FastWeb especially is you can search for the number of scholarships that are out there in industry searches. And if you know that there are thousands of scholarships in, let's say, AI, and a few dozen scholarships in English or something, then maybe that's an area that you could consider going, because there's a lot of scholarships that you can apply for that, right? So FastWeb and all these are great areas. There's a whole science and art about applying for scholarship, but the basic fact I want to give you is just do it. Spend an hour a week, turn off the TV, parents, whatever you have to do, just sit down, go here, apply for scholarships. The hardest thing about applying for scholarships is, number 1, the only people that don't get scholarships are the ones that never apply. And number 2, the hardest part about scholarship is applying for your first scholarship. If you can apply for one scholarship successfully, even if you don't get it, the question that they ask is the exact same questions that every other scholarship asks. It asks for personal information, your grades in your school. It asks for letters of recommendation. It asks for some basic stuff. When you do your first scholarship, you can then just copy and paste and recycle that information again and again and again and again. Most scholarships are going to ask you for the same letters of recommendation, these few things, right? The first one is the hardest. Do one, copy your information, and then go again and again and again and again. Anytime you don't get a scholarship, they'll send you a letter saying why you didn't get it. Read that letter, figure out what you can do to improve, and keep going and keep going and keep going. Now there's a ChatGPT 4 integration with FastWeb. So if you write down all your personal information and you put into ChatGPT 4, it integrates into FastWeb and it'll autofill. Like at this point, I really don't know what excuse there is to not apply for scholarships. You just do it once, it'll fast fill it for you, and you go again and again and again and again. Inshallah. Let's continue. Number 8, graduate on time or early. I think we all understand this concept. You want to stay in college as little time as possible. You're not going to college for the experience, to go here, to live on this campus. No. You're there to get a degree because you want to get a job and you want to get out of debt as quickly as possible. Don't fall through the propaganda of like, oh, the experience and whatnot. Everywhere you'll get an experience. You'll get an experience driving in traffic, right? That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to go in there for a specific purpose and get out of there. Those of you who don't understand credits, typically when you pay tuition for a university, they give you a minimum of 12 to 18 credits. Every state is different, everywhere is different, but on average 12 to 18. So if you know you need 100 credits to graduate a university, if you can do it, if you have the rigor of doing it, try to take 18 credits per semester. That way you can graduate a semester early. You're already paying for this. This is the max you can take. That's what you're already paying for. Most students take 12 to 15. Avoid 12. Try to do 15 at least. But if you can do 18, do it, because then you can get a semester done quicker and you're not paying more for it, right? Because you have to get a certain number of credit hours to graduate. I can explain that more if people have questions about exactly what I mean. Number 9, do not take unnecessary loan. Big mistake. People are like, oh, I need $10,000 in loan for my college, but let me take out $12,000 just to be safe. Don't do that. Take out the least amount of loans as humanly possible, because you're going to be paying this back for years afterwards. Be cautious of loans. Don't take more than you need. Use them as kind of a last resort. Do not use loan for living expenses. Don't take out loan and then go out to eat. Don't take out loan and then do other things like that. The interest rate right now is about 6.5%. For colleges, I think the highest is at almost 7%, but now that's gone down a little bit. These are high interest rates, right? I know Muslims, we don't like to talk about riba and interest, but that's kind of how these things work. Avoid it, avoid it, avoid it. Don't use it to pay living conditions. Just use it to pay whatever you need to get your degree and get out and continue going. Last but not least, I'll leave you guys with this because now we're actually out of time. I have another slide that could show that I want to bring, but we'll do it next time. Be brave, talk about higher education, and understand costs. I think one of the challenges within our families is that parents don't necessarily talk to their kids and kids don't necessarily talk to their parents. Now you'll talk like, acha, hurry up, get ready, do this and that, but you don't have a deep conversation on beta, what do you actually want to study? Where do you want to go in the future? Our family can only afford this much. If you take out this much loan, this is how much time you're going to spend paying it back. Have that adult conversation with your adult children, because that's what they're adults. Take some time. I do this with my kids, even though they're 9 years old, mashallah. I have this very awkward adult conversation with them. Do that, because that's what's going to help your kids understand where they are in life, and that'll also set realistic expectations. Parents, again, if you're in a hyper-competitive family, if your cousins or nieces and nephews are doctors and your kids are coming up, you're gonna probably push them to become doctors. That's great, and that should be done as well. But just be realistic in what your child can and cannot accomplish and put them in that course, and inshallah it'll be well. With that, guys, I'm sorry I had a whole other slide that I can't present it today, but I'll pause right now. I'll open up for questions. I'll try to answer as many as I can, and then we have to get going, inshallah, after that. Yes, question.
What would be like a good place to find internships for the summer?
Where do you find internships for the summer? Great question. All young people should have a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn, terrible social media site. I hate using it. Have a LinkedIn account. Once you have a LinkedIn account, you can search internships and job opportunities on LinkedIn, which is fantastic and great. Getting job internships and these opportunities at your level is actually sometimes very hard in a professional company. So what do? You do the Muslim strategy of who you know. Try to find people, try to get your parents to find people in those industries and get them to help get your kids placed in those internships. Other strategies is if you have a business as adults, if you have a business or a company or whatnot, give internships out to young Muslims, because what you're doing is you can provide them these internships. There's not as much barrier to get into those, and then you can build your resume, and then you can continue that as well. A simple example is, let's say you want your kids to go into a medical program. If you want your kids to become doctors, then the easiest way for them to get internships is at these free clinics that we run as a ummah, as a community. Your kids can show up, they'll take them as volunteers, and now on your resume you say, I volunteered at a free medical clinic for my summer. Is that a competitive program to get into? No. You know the uncle, auntie who runs it, right? It's very easy to get in. But on paper, from the admissions department, it looks very, very good, right? Find Muslims in these fields, ask them to give you these opportunities, and that's the easiest way. If you have to actually apply in the marketplace, in the job place, it's very competitive and it's actually very hard to get into some of these positions. So I would say use the network within the community to do so. There are career expos that happen in the community, especially Islamic schools. Go to those career expos, find these adults, and try to get them to hire you as an intern for the summer so you can build your college resume, inshallah. A few more questions, then we'll wrap it up, inshallah. Yes? So the career flow for getting to medical school is long, and it does take some time and energy and effort. Most students, what they do is they go into undergraduate, they study something in medicine like biochem, biotech, or biology or something like that. Those fields are very dangerous fields to study Because if you don't get to medicine, biochem, biotech, and biology are basically useless degrees that won't get you a job in any marketplace out there. So make sure if your kids are going into that. I just have to speak normally, inshallah, so you get the answer, right? So these are useless degrees. A lot of our kids do graduate with these degrees. There's very few real jobs in those degrees. So again, medical program, I don't have the numbers with you right now. It becomes more competitive as time goes on. They have allowed less and less people to be a part of it. So again, undergraduate study something biochem, biotech, biology, because that's going to give you the stuff you need. After that, you're then going to apply for medical programs or try and get into a medical college. They're taking an admissions exam and a test that's very challenging. Anytime you're studying for the MCAT or any of these exams, stop working, don't get a job, don't do anything except study for that test. How do you study for that test? Do not study at home by yourself. You're going to fail. You will not do well. You're going to fail. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You're going to fail that test. The best way to study is an online program if you can, and those are the lowest cost and easily accessible, or get yourself a tutor, force yourself to go into a class that forces you how to study in that exam. I think for many of us, we have ADHD, it's hard. Be in a program, the MCAT is a huge barrier for medical school. And that's just a reality. If you can't get into a medical program, you can also go to, not the Bahamas, what's it called? What's the Caribbean? I don't know where I got Bahamas from, right? You go to the Caribbean and you can do a program there as well. Those programs are now becoming harder to get, place after you graduate, but there's still an option, a viable option as well. And then after that, you then start your residency, and then you get into a doctor, then you get into a hospital, and you go from there. So that's the traditional way. The better way is if your kids really want to study medicine and they don't go there, there's about 5 schools that have the 6-year program and some that have a 7-year program. That is the best bang for your buck and the most guaranteed way to get it. Because once they're in that school, unless they fail and drop out, if they graduate, they become doctors at the end of it, right? Another thing to remember is if your kids are going to biochem, biotech, and biology and other fields like that, and they don't become doctors, the medical industry is very large. There's a lot of other opportunities, technicians, nurses, other fields that are there as well. I know as adults, we're like, astaghfirullah, my kid could have been a doctor. If you don't become a doctor, there's other opportunity that they should also pursue, and they pay very well, right? They pay very well, especially if you're a traveling nurse or other fields. Consider that as a backup. Do have a backup for your kids if they're going to the 4-year program and they're going to take the MCAT, then go into medical school. Have a backup, because they may not pass the MCAT. They may not get accepted into a medical school. Many kids don't get accepted. So there's a lot of hurdles and burdens. Have that backup. The only time you don't need to have a backup is if you get into a 6-year or 7-year accelerated program, because then unless they fail, they're going to graduate and they're going to succeed. Does that help answer your question? If any of you want to talk to me one-on-one about medical programs, I can give you some advice on specific schools. There's Muslims that work in those schools. They can write you letters of recommendation if you get to know them. That might help you get in as well. Don't record that part, though. Delete that last section, inshallah. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question regarding continuous charity can actually help the students to navigate their academic life.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, like, if somebody gets loans from you and then they find themselves not wanting to continue in the same field, or they don't know what classes they should take. Sometimes universities, I mean, they do have
Oh, Hamza, pass out flyers for everybody.
guidance, but sometimes the schools don't provide like adequate guidance, and the students are not really guided well. So
100%.
provide like guidance for his career, the field if they want to change or they want to initially pursue something, or also what classes they take.
Yeah, so A Continuous Charity has professional PhDs who are college counselors, who are career experts. Many of them work at universities in missions. These are volunteers for A Continuous Charity. They're on our staff. So if any masjid or group is interested in doing that more one-on-one career counseling, we can get you connected to Muslim resources who are in these fields. Some of them have been doing it for 30 plus years, and they can help you change your career. They can help you give that guidance, and they can do a lot more than one-on-one. These people, they do charge money sometimes. So ACC, what we like to do is we like to do a community event like this, have them come, and we do like a Saturday, and we do small groups of usually 6 to 10 students at a time. So 6 to 10 students will come to this college. These people are professionals. they'll fill out a survey beforehand that says what you want to study, where you want to go, and then they give customized, tailored advice based on what they want to study. It's not like this presentation is very general. It's more like that. So if the community here benefits from that, invite us again. We can do something like that, inshallah. Yes, and then we'll go to the sisters, inshallah. Yes.
So you were mentioning about those six, specific for medical schools. Is there a site somewhere we can find? You mentioned
Yeah, I have my business card here. Email me and I'll send it to you. And you can Google it. I mean, a lot of the stuff, it just requires knowledge, knowing it. That exists for medical school, law schools, pharmacy, and other type of fields as well. And look for just accelerated programs. That's what you got to look out there for. And you'll find a whole list of them. Yes, sisters. Yeah, so you mean for middle school and high school, like what they want to study in the future? Yeah, I think a few activities you can do with students is, number one, you can do a career income activity, which is that you basically say, here's the jobs that are out there in the community. What jobs are you interested in and how much they pay? So that's an activity you can do with young people that gives them ideas on what's out there. And with that, there's websites that exist already there. It says, here's the jobs that are in demand. Here's how much they pay. And then here's how long it takes to get an education in them. So that can help young people kind of figure things out where they want to go. Be realistic. Don't study computer science if you're not good at math. Don't study this if you don't like this. Have that type of conversation, but that could be a really good way to get them started on that track. I think giving young people as many opportunities to really think about it and really be realistic on where they want to go can really help out. And do those activities when you're younger, it'll make a big impact, inshallah. Sisters, one or two more questions, then we'll wrap it up. I have to leave, inshallah, by 5:15 at the latest. Any other questions? Barakallahu feek, everybody.